Good afternoon, or morning if you're watching this in the morning. My name is Derek Brown. I am a voice teacher, opera and musical theater stage director. I have been working with students for about the past 5 years, 3 of which have been through digital means and Zoom. I've helped students ages 6 through, grades 6 through 8 work on their auditions for things like All Region and All State, the UIL, any sort of musical theater auditions coming up. Whatever it is that that child needs, I have been there to help. In addition, some choral rehearsals, sectional things, whatever it is that's been needed of me, I've at some point found a way to step in and try to take charge. This is my small little video demo of some examples of how I might teach a student. What I'm doing here is in first person. Imagine this to be a Zoom screen. I have here also, I have my trusty keyboard. I have various ways. If they have digital music, I have multiple screens that I can pull up. In this case, the example that I'll use is a song from one of my students in 8th grade getting ready for high school arts magnet auditions, which is a really, really big deal, especially because the incoming high schoolers have been told it's a very, very big deal. With that being said, I would love to just sort of jump into a little bit of how I talk to students, how I get them engaged, and a few of the warm-ups that I'll do. And I'll sort of bring in examples along the way. But what I like to do is start out. I like to ask how they're feeling, just in general, to find out sort of where their mind is at, what the focus is going to be like today, etc. Sort of kind of lay some groundwork and gets me into singing. Lately, this time of year, getting colder, I've been adjusting to doing more sirens to start out. Things, especially with my young male voices, it's doing things like try to get a very even sound all the way down from head voice down to that lower register or chest voice. And then I'll usually say something like, okay, let's do it one more time, but could you do it even higher, take longer, and try to go even lower? And they will sometimes feel shy, but they'll do it with me. I do this because, especially with the developing male voice, that tricky passaggio, that tricky area where the voice cracks, is a big topic of discussion and nerves and anxiety because they don't want their voice to crack on stage. So I offer this as a quick way to say that, A, if you're afraid your voice is going to crack, guess what? It will, but that's okay because that shows us where we need to work on next. With an exercise like the siren, I'll do an example sort of like, listen to this. Did you hear the break? Okay. Let's focus there and take all the time. Let's use our body and let's use our ears. Let's listen to make sure that we can try to even that out. There's a couple of different breaks in there, but the goal is to keep them all even. I like to start with that because it starts with something kind of silly. That and also in music I'll show later some lip trill idea that also helps with support. But inviting a kid to be silly with you generally results in them feeling less self-conscious and braver to make a noise. Then I sort of tailor warm-ups based on where I feel like that kid is at. So it could be anything from starting with just getting a simple tone. I might sing in an octave above for younger female voices until they get an ear for adjusting octaves. Ooh, ooh, can we hold this note? Mi, me, ma, mo, mu. And see that sort of tone consistency, breath supports, kind of see where they're at. I like to do warm-ups in a couple different ways. A few of just the basic ones. And I'll take that up the scale, and then I'll usually go back down the scale as well, doing things etc. Kind of going up and down, making sure that they feel warmed up, and also doing some ear training to make sure that specifically those thirds are where they got to be, whether they're major or minor. I like tossing in warm-ups that keep people engaged. As a student myself, I always got really tired of doing warm-ups unless I've had fun with them. So I've got a couple other ones that some more advanced younger students really enjoy, things that can push the vocal range in different directions. Well, in this case, pushing it a little bit higher. And it's in minor, which sounds really fun, especially if we're coming up to Halloween. There. And then take that up. It's fun because it's a bit of a longer exercise, so it tests, a little bit of that working memory, but it also has that E going up to sol la so that kind of gets you to push past the passaggio. If you can go for a guy on the baritone, so this may not work out very well. As a baritone, being able to go from the F sharp to a G, even though if that's not quite where I'm feeling I want to be for the day, I'm still able to sort of get up over that and not tax anything up here. It's still coming from the support area. And that's really the fundamental thing that I want to teach younger students. One of the jokes that I think I make occasionally, joke but also lesson, is if they're saying, "What do I do?" I was like, "Okay, are you about to sing?" "Yes." "How are you feeling?" "A little nervous." "Okay, let's think about how this works. What's the very first thing we do before we sing?" And they'll kind of think about it. The first thing that we do before we sing, though, is breathe. If we don't breathe, we can't sing. It doesn't work. And I do a lot of emphasis on getting them to the correct support area in the very beginnings of that. I'll move on to a song and kind of show a little bit about more what I'm talking about. Let me move on to this piece. This is called The Vagabond. It's it's inspired by The Vagabond by I cannot remember his name for the life of me. But the text is by Robert Louis Stevenson, inspired by The Vagabond with the songs of travel. Ruthven Williams. Oh my gosh. Whoever's watching this video, I hope that was fun for you. This song is called The Vagabond. This is a really good one for an emerging baritone or that sort of barytenor middle schooler. It goes down to a D, up to a B flat. Oh, that's not it. There. This one is cool because it sits right in that speaking range, but it allows for a good amount of play, of keeping that consistent tone going and making sure that we stay on the breath despite singing through where we might speak. Just a little bit of this one, kind of get it in our ear. It kind of goes... whatever it's da 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 dum. Down the road he travels, another day's journey begun. I like this already. If I were in a lesson, I would probably have stopped my student and said, "What are the first things I'm going to tell you to try to work on your next sing through?" And the words, very often they'll think about it and they'll probably go to pronunciation first, especially if they're working on an audition. Down the road he travels, travels, another day's journey begun, having begun, having these taller vowels. Adding to this, this piece going from, essentially being in D minor, going from A down to that D, in my own experience at that age also, being a sort of a younger baritone, that D can be difficult to achieve and stay comfortably, and this song really helps with that because it actually leads you to it and doesn't make you linger on it. In this case, I would do something like, and this is what I was talking about before, lip trills. So lip trills, I always tell students beforehand, I'm like, You're going to hate this exercise, but you'll learn to love it. But I start out by just saying, can you do this? Let's do 5 beats. Then practice that. When they feel like they've got it, their nose is buzzy, let's give it a tone. Sometimes you get students do this. And we want to encourage the full line. And try to keep that air support flowing. From there, I will actually have them sing the melody. And then immediately before they can think about it, sing it again. Down the road, and they sing it one more time. And I really emphasize in my lessons a pause and a reflect. Did that feel different before and after the lip trill? And making sure that they know that the answer is not right or wrong. It's an experiential question. If they felt like something was different, I want to find out how. Generally speaking, it's different in the way that it would be perceived as an easier sing. They weren't in their throat. They feel like their stomach was moving more. They'll tell me that the high note was easier. All sorts of things. And if that's the case, then I'll say that's amazing. Let me tell you some more things that I noticed that really worked in that. And very often, if they start to get a better support, then their diction gets better too. If they're trying to get better support, then their pitch accuracy is better too. But I like to build those things up, especially if they are young and they're going into a high school audition. They're probably told very frequently all the things they shouldn't be doing, all the good things, hands to your side, approach the judges this way, whatever the thing is. And in my lessons, I like to make sure that as an artist starting out, they can self-assess and think, okay, I did X, Y, and Z well. I can hold on to those and be proud of that and still work on 1, 2, and 3 and not feel like this doesn't matter. And so, I like to buffer things. Here's a compliment. Here's what we're going to work on next. Here's where I think we're going, and it's really exciting. And then we go from there. A few things that have come up in the past, things like navigating ear training, being able to match a pitch. I've had a couple of different experiences, some with students that have a very difficult time finding one note, all the way to students that can find a note if someone is singing it first. And then I've also had students that I just have crazy perfect pitch, and you don't have to do a thing. But if they have issues with matching pitch, I start doing things with my warm-ups to sort of meet them. So like if I'm playing, say, an A, and I notice that they're singing an F sharp, then I will move my warm-up down to that and see what happens. If I play an F sharp, do they still sing an F sharp, or do they sing something else? And that sort of lets me know if it's actually a pitch problem in their brain, or if it's going to be something more akin to breath support, and they're just not producing enough pressure, enough diaphragmatic pressure or whatever to achieve that note. Which in the case of most, I'd say, of my middle school guys, is pretty common. This is just about towards the end of my 15 minutes of little mock lesson time. I hope I've made an impression on you. I would love to talk further. I have so many ideas and so many creative strategies that I've worked on through Zoom, both directing professionals in video, all the way to teaching and coaching things. So I want to thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again. My name is Derek Robert Brown.